just as a preface, we've talked before. We talked at the Orlando conference, and my whole way to treat people is really geared towards maximizing their mitochondrial function, because inflammation is part of the disease process. It's part of the healing process, and what really dictates whether you're going to stay in that disease process or not is how your mitochondria are working.
Exactly.
So I'm always out there looking for things that are going to turbocharge the mitochondrial system. And when we spoke at the Orlando conference, it was very clear that you are dealing with a product that is able to do that.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that I can get you on so we talk about this in a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
But to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Catherine Arnston. I'm the founder and CEO and Chief Scientific Officer of Energy Bits. We sell algae tablets. And I fell into this only as a result of my younger sister 15 years ago developing breast cancer, because I had it, and she's fine now, she completely recovered. But as she was preparing for her chemotherapy, her oncologist recommended she change her diet to an alkaline diet, because it would be important for her healing. They didn't tell her what it was or why it helped. So she called me her big sister, who, I had a corporate career, nothing to do with nutrition before this, but I dug around and found out that an alkaline diet was a plant-based diet because of the phytonutrients that build your immune system. She did go through chemo, completely healed. She changed her diet. I learned about plant-based nutrition, which led me to algae, the most alkaline, nutrient-dense food in the world, and effortless to take because well, first of all, let me tell you, algae, it was the first life on Earth 4 billion years ago. It's been endorsed for 50 years by the United Nations as the answer to world hunger because it has the highest protein in the world. It's been endorsed by NASA for 50 years as the most nutrient-dense food in the world. We have a quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits and vegetables. It's a multi-billion, that's with a B, multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop in Asia, where they've been taking it every day for over 50 years. And what one of the things I want people to know is algae is not a supplement. It is a food crop. Here's a picture of a spirulina farm. We're going to be talking about spirulina and chlorella. And then, so they're grown, so important, not a supplement, it's food. And the other thing to know is that it's grown in fresh water, so not from the ocean. Yes, there is algae in the ocean, but ours is grown in triple filtered spring mountain water, so it's absolutely the purest, most nutrient-dense food in the world, no toxins. And after we grow it in fresh water, we air dry it into a powder, and then we press it into tiny tablets about the size of a baby aspirin. Most people swallow them. I chew mine, but this is what they look like. This one's spirulina. It's a darker blue-green algae. And this is chlorella, which is a green algae. Now, what you want to know is that each one of these tiny little tablets, look at it, about the size of a baby aspirin, right? Each one of these tablets is so nutrient dense that it has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. So those of you who do not like vegetables, and we know a lot of men don't like vegetables, kids don't like vegetables, or even if you do like vegetables, you don't always have time to prepare them, or they take a long time to cook and they take a long time to eat, and maybe you have gas from them because of the fiber. So this is your answer, not only for preventing health issues like heart disease, and we'll get to that in a minute, and for boosting your mitochondrial function, which we'll get to in a minute, but just on a simplicity basis, this will save you time, money. Our algae never goes bad. We do have to put a 3-year expiry date on it, but algae is the most unusual crop, never goes bad, also never dies when it's growing. So this is what I call efficient nutrition. We recommend you take, try to take 10 a day, but even if you started with 5, and we sell them in large bags of 1,000 tablets. And just to give you an idea of nutrient dense this is, using that quote from NASA that 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits and vegetables, 1,000 tablets in one bag has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables. Now think about it. That's 551 pounds of vegetables you didn't have to carry home from the grocery store. You didn't have to clean, cook, or eat. You didn't have to clean up or throw away when they went bad, when you didn't eat them all. And if you took 10 tablets a day, 10 of these little tablets a day, 10 in the morning or 5 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, that bag would last you 3 months. So that's 3 months of vegetables. Amazing, right? That you didn't have to do any work for, or argue with your kids with, or argue with your husband with. This is the answer. And it's got 40 vitamins and minerals, 64% protein, loaded with all these important antioxidants that we'll talk about in a minute. One important one called superoxide dismutase, which will protect your heart. Another, it has a pigment, the spirulina. We're going to talk about the difference between the two of them. We see how spirulina is a darker color. That's because it has 2 pigments in it. A green one, which is chlorophyll, that's in chlorella, but there's a blue pigment called phycocyanin, which has incredible antioxidant and healing benefits, particularly for your heart and for your mitochondria. So just from a pure simplicity sake, algae tablets are for everybody. They're safe for newborns, pets, children, teenagers, grandparents. And we're going to talk a little bit about why you desperately need them, why every single person over the age of probably 35 should be taking these every single day for the rest of your life, because they will protect you, and I'll explain that in a minute. But also now you can travel, you can go to the gym. Spirulina, as I'll explain, gives you energy, satisfies your hunger, 0 carbs, great for intermittent fasting. And chlorella, which I'll also explain in a minute, is a wellness detox algae. So they work completely differently. And we recommend you take them at different times of the day. But I did want to let you know that algae is not new. It's just new to you because no one ever explained it to you before. You didn't grow up with it because 99% of algae is grown in Asia. So you didn't drive by it on your way to work. So, why would you know about it? It's like you didn't know about chia or kiwa or matcha or even collagen powder until someone explained it to you. But it's not new. It's been around for centuries, except no one has taken the time to give you a clean, safe product. We only sell through doctors. We can sell through our website, and we have a 20% discount code for your community, Dr. George.
That's great.
But we grow ours in Taiwan, and we do third-party lab tests here in the United States at an FDA-approved lab. Because we sell through doctors. We don't sell through CVS or all those, retail mass chains. We only sell through practitioners and through our website, energybits.com, where you can also find a lot of information. But so it's just something that's never been explained to you. It's you've never been provided with a physician grade quality. And when you get something as high quality as ours, you need less of it, and it will do more for you. So less is more.
Absolutely. So, I'm definitely interested in how mitochondrially this just makes you work more efficiently. You're actually delivering more power through the mitochondria when you're using these, the phycocyanins especially. But
yeah.
Some of the mechanisms that I usually talk about that can cause atherosclerosis are not just like chronic infections related to the gums and the teeth, the dysbiosis, but even toxicity from heavy metals and from the chemicals that we take in when we're not eating organic. So is chlorella able to detox in these kinds of circumstances?
Yes. Well, this is a great segue to just give you a short overview of the 2 algae. So spirulina, as I mentioned, is a blue-green algae. It's a darker color. And it gives you energy, both mentally, physically, and at the cellular level. So to make it easy for people to think about energy, we call our spirulina energy bits. And it's in a blue package because it's a blue-green algae. So the way it gives you energy is because, first of all, it has the highest concentration of protein in the world, has 18 of the 20 aminos, including the 9 that your body can't make. So it's what's called a complete protein. You could live on this spirulina forever. In fact, the nutrient profile is almost identical to mother's breast milk. And it gives you energy because spirulina is also it is actually a bacteria. It has no cellulose wall. So it gets absorbed into your bloodstream almost instantly. And it's carrying all that great protein in amino acid form, so which your body needs it in that form, so it doesn't have to work to get access to it. And it's loaded with B vitamins, which convert the protein into energy, physical energy, mental energy. So it's loaded with essential fatty acids. So people use it for a meal replacement. If you took 20, there's only 1 calorie per tablet, so it can replace your meal. It can be great for intermittent fasting, 0 carbs. It's ketogenic, it's vegan, it's carnivore. It goes with every single diet. So it's very energizing, and not from like a stimulant. Caffeine, chemical, or sugar give you a rush and then you get a crash. None of that happens with algae, because the energy is strictly from nutrition. So it's a very quiet energy, no drama. I say algae is no drama. So that's spirulina, very energizing and nourishing immediately, and also at the cellular level, which we'll get to when we talk about the mitochondria in a few minutes, because cellular energy is what propels everything in your body: your breathing, your thinking, your walking, your talking, your lymphatic system, your heartbeat. Very, very important, your heartbeat, your brain. So getting that cellular energy is critical, and maintaining it. It's called ATP, and it comes from the food that you digest, and then the mitochondria convert it into this ATP. And so it's very efficient energy for the mitochondria, but you get the benefits right away when you swallow or chew it. As I say, you generally need 10 of them. And just to give you, just to reinforce how valuable it is, we fuel NHL teams, Olympic teams. They've been using this before as a pre-workout because it gives them amazing focus, and it gives them energy on the ice or when they're skiing or doing whatever it is. So, so take your spirulina in the morning, in the afternoon, anytime you're hungry, and that will get you through the day. Now, the other algae is chlorella, which is a green algae, and it helps you recover your health. So we called ours recovery bits. We thought that was easier to say and to remember than chlorella, which is a little tongue twister. Yeah. So chlorella has the highest chlorophyll in the world. Remember, spirulina had the highest protein. And just again, to show you a little segue back to the spirulina, the algae, the protein in algae is in individual aminos. When you eat animal protein, it's all bound up and could take days for your body to break down into aminos. Collagen is in what's called peptides, which are clusters, so they get absorbed faster. But algae protein is individual aminos, so that's the fastest. So spirulina, as I mentioned, has the most protein, but chlorella has the most chlorophyll. Now check this out. The chemical composition of chlorophyll is almost identical to the chemical composition of your red blood cells, called hemoglobin. So this is chlorella, which is the green algae, is very important to build your blood. And when you have healthy blood, you're going to have a healthier heart. You're going to have a healthier body. So chlorophyll is number one to do that. Now, chlorophyll is also a fat-based pigment. All of your cell walls are made of fats. And so this is why you need healthy fats like omega-3 or vitamin E or D, because they keep the cell wall moist. You need healthy fat cell walls to allow nutrients in and toxins to get out. We're going to get to the toxins next. So because chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment, it heals the cell walls just like an omega-3 would. And about the toxins, the average adult in America, apparently, I read recently, has 800 toxins in them. Now, when you have toxins in your body, they could be heavy metals, lead, mercury, radiation, glyphosate. You may have Lyme disease. There's all sorts of toxins that we're exposed to in our daily life. And chlorella is has been known for decades for pulling out heavy metals and any kind of toxins. Now, this is really, really important, because if you have toxins in your body, they get lodged into your cells in your heart and cause damage. They prevent other nutrients from getting in because they sit on top of the receptor cells. They cause your telomeres to unravel, and then your DNA gets damaged, and then it replicates in a damaged form. So getting those toxins out is critical for your heart health, and for all health. So in fact, the United Nations used chlorella to remove radiation after Chernobyl. We work with biological dentists to pull mercury out from your fillings. So most people, we recommend you take chlorella before bed, because your body goes through a detox repair cycle when you're sleeping. So when you get into a deep sleep, and by the way, chlorella also has the highest tryptophan in the world, which is an important amino, and is a precursor to melatonin. And also chlorella has the second highest concentration of melatonin in the world, second only to spirulina, which you think, that's so funny, that why would something that gives you energy have so much melatonin in it? But melatonin only makes you sleeping in the dark. So, for decades, people have been taking our spirulina energy bits and all day long never get sleepy. It's at nighttime. And melatonin is a really powerful antioxidant too. So when you take chlorella before bed, it will pull out the toxins. It will help you have deep sleep. And the deeper sleep is important for repair of any kind and pulling out toxins. So it's kind of a, chlorella is spirulina is a morning algae. Take it sort of AM and PM, and chlorella in the PM. And also because spirulina has so much, we'll talk about this in a minute when we get to mitochondria, so many healing benefits for your mitochondria, and you have the highest concentration of mitochondria in your brain, and the second highest is in your heart. So, and because chlorella helps with your gut and your colon, I tell people, well, think about spirulina working from the top down because of all that concentrated mitochondria in your brain and in your heart, and chlorella works from the bottom up because it's been used for IBS, Crohn's, and all sorts of gut issues. So top down, bottom up, AM, PM. That helps at all.
Very good. So, to me, it makes sense that people should be on chlorella on a regular basis. Instead of thinking about going through detox programs every once in a while, you're literally detoxing on a daily basis when you're taking chlorella. Absolutely. Let alone all of the other nutrients that are in there.
Exactly.
And I think that there's a lot of power behind spirulina, and some of the facts that you shared with us at the conference were great, especially that there might be some prehistoric relationship between spirulina and our own mitochondria in our body. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, just to help people understand the importance of your mitochondria, here's a picture of your cell. And in your cell, you have a nucleus, and and then inside, see these little peanut-shaped things? Those are the mitochondria. And inside the mitochondria is where the cellular energy is produced, called ATP. And this is what generates energy for everything in your body. But the problem is, right where the ATP is produced, a byproduct of ATP is free radicals. Now, the mitochondria have their own DNA. People may not know this. You have your regular DNA. There's 25,000 of them. That's in your nucleus. But your mitochondria have their own DNA. There's only 37 of them. But those 37 control everything else. They control all the other DNA. They control the communication on your cell walls. And so protecting the mitochondria DNA is your number one job, because as you get older, you have fewer mitochondria, so you have less energy. And as you're going to find out, as you get older, after the age of 30, there are 3 antioxidants that normally your body creates to stop free radical damage. But after 30, your body stops making them. Without spoiling the punchline, you're going to find out that algae has the highest concentration of those 3 antioxidants that your body stops making for you after the age of 30, so you can get your protection back. So here's the challenge. Your mitochondria that are generating all that great ATP, but then are throwing all the free radicals off, their DNA is located exactly where the free radicals are. So your mitochondria DNA are getting damaged all the time. If you've ever sat near a bonfire or too close to a fireplace and sparks would fly, you might get burned, right? Because you were too close. Well, that's exactly what's happening to your mitochondria DNA. They are right beside where all the free radicals are being thrown off. And so your mitochondria DNA average lifespan is about 10 days compared to your regular DNA, which lasts a lifetime. And the trouble is when your mitochondria DNA get damaged, they send wrong signals. They cause the mitochondria to die. I mean, you already, as you get older, you have fewer of them anyways, but this, speeds up the cycle of more death of mitochondria. So it's a real problem. And this is what contributes to heart disease, because as I mentioned, the great second concentration, highest concentration of mitochondria are in your heart. So you absolutely have to protect your mitochondria. Now, the issue is, well, you think, well, how do I stop the free radical damage? So there's two ways you can do that. One is to reduce the free radicals, and one is to remove them. Let me tell you the first way to reduce them. The best way to reduce them is to stop eating carbs. Carbs, sugar, processed foods throw off the most free radicals when they are being converted into energy from the food. So the easiest thing to do is to change your diet. It doesn't have to be keto, just low carb. Slow down or remove snacks, carb snacks, even fruits. Stop drinking juices and start eating more complex carbs, more fats, and more protein. And the best thing is fasting, intermittent fasting, long-term fasting, or algae. There's virtually no free radicals produced from algae or from fasting. Fewer from low carb, but this is the number one easiest thing for everyone to start doing, is to cut back on your carbs and try to do intermittent fasting. Just delay your breakfast a couple hours and take the algae tablets instead, because they're ketogenic. They will not interfere with your fast. You take 5 or 10, your hunger's gone, 10 calories, and you get all the energy that you want. So that's number one, reduce the free radicals. The second option is to remove the free radicals. And you think, well, blueberries, all these great things with antioxidants, why can't vitamin C? The trouble is, none of those antioxidants can get into the mitochondria to stop the free radical damage. And here's why. I'm going to get back to Dr. George's question about why the mitochondria are related to the algae. Your mitochondria are the only cell in your body with a second inner membrane. All your cells in your body have an outer membrane, which we talked about earlier, that are a lipid, which means fat. They're a fat membrane. And mitochondria has that as well. It's on the outside. But the mitochondria have a second membrane. It's like an ICE unit. It's in lockdown. No traditional antioxidants can get in there. You can eat a room full of blueberries and not a drop of vitamin C or vitamin E or anything will get in there. There are only 4 antioxidants that can get into that inner membrane. 3 of them, as I mentioned, are produced by your own body, and they are glutathione, superoxide dismutase, which is a mouthful, also known as SOD, and melatonin. Now, you've probably heard of melatonin, and we mentioned it earlier. You may not have heard of glutathione, and you certainly, I'm sure, did not know what superoxide dismutase is. But these are 3 critical antioxidants that your body makes from the moment you're born. And what they do is they can get into that inner membrane and stop the free radical damage. Chlorophyll, by the way, is the 4th one, but of course your body doesn't make it. So, hey, you're off to the races. You're protected with by these 3 and 4th, if you chlorophyll antioxidants, right?
And one big thing that I tell my patients all the time, we also don't make magnesium, but smack dab in the middle of chlorophyll is magnesium. So if you really want to increase, because you don't make it, how are you going to ingest it? You're either going to have to supplement somehow or eat lots of chlorophyll containing foods. So that's another plus.
Yes, absolutely. So you're all set until age 30. And guess what? When does heart disease start kicking in? It's getting earlier, but it was certainly in the 40s, definitely in the 50s, 60s, and your risk level just skyrockets after that. And this is because at age 30, your body stops making those 3 antioxidants that can stop the free radical damage. So up until then, like around age 30, you're protected. But at age 30, it drops, and the number of mitochondria drop, the glutathione drops, the superoxide dismutase drops, and at the same time, you're older. So you've been collecting toxins for a longer period of time. This is where the danger zone is. This is what's causing heart disease, because you have so many toxins in your body and you have zero protection because your body isn't making those 3 antioxidants any longer, and you're probably not eating a lot of vegetables, and even you were, there's not much chlorophyll in them. And we're surrounded by carbs. It's a perfect storm. Of course you're getting heart disease, but I have great news for you. It doesn't have to be that way. We can intercept that, and it's as easy peasy as swallowing these tablets every day. All you have to do, we encourage you to take at least 10, more, 20, 30, I have like 100 a day, because algae has all of those antioxidants, and I have all the lab tests to prove to you that your body stops making at 30. So we can, and it pulls out toxins. The spirulina has all the superoxide dismutase. Chlorella has the highest glutathione in the world. The two of them can literally stop that inflammation, because inflammation is damaged mitochondria. 90% of inflammation is in the mitochondria. So we need to stop the inflammation. And you can do it as simply as opening your mouth and swallowing 10 tablets down. Done. And at the same time, you're getting 40 vitamins and minerals. You're getting 65% protein. You're getting energy for the day. You're improving your focus. Everything improves instantly, but the long-term benefit is that you can stop and reverse heart disease damage. Now, I'm going to tell you what prompted me to start telling you all that story was Dr. George said, well, aren't the mitochondria and algae related? And they are. And here's the story. And it's all documented in science. The first life on Earth started about 4 billion years ago, and it was a cyanobacteria. And before that occurred, Earth was gas and water. There was no life and no oxygen. Now, nobody knows why this first anaerobic cell began growing. Anaerobic means it doesn't function well in oxygen. It's anaerobic. But this cyanobacteria, like spirulina, remember I mentioned spirulina is a bacteria. It's a cyanobacteria. So it started growing, and after 1 billion years, and it generated ATP, the energy. And a byproduct of ATP is oxygen, and that's what causes the free radicals in your body. But after 1 billion years, there was enough oxygen on Earth. So now larger aerobic cells, which can grow in oxygen, started functioning and showing up, but they didn't generate ATP as well. So I can imagine the conversation going something like this. The big cell says to the little cell, hey, little guy, I see you're struggling there because you're not used to all that oxygen, and we're not doing so well making ATP. Why don't we join forces? You come and hang out with us, generate ATP, and we'll protect you from the oxygen. And that's exactly what happened. So the cyanobacteria, it's all documented in science, it's called endosymbiotic theory. The little cyanobacteria, like spirulina, which had previously been by itself, got engulfed by the bigger cell. But instead of digesting it, it coexisted and turned into mitochondria. So when you look at that cell of the mitochondria, which I showed you before, with that inner membrane, okay, that inner membrane is a leftover from the day when it was all by itself. When it got engulfed, that membrane didn't disappear. It had a second membrane put around it, but it's still there. This is why everything that's in the algae can get into the mitochondria, because they basically have come from the same place. They're family. And so it's extraordinary to me, and it's such a coincidence at this time in our life, in our world, when our heart disease is escalating, cancer, all our chronic diseases are escalating, and everyone's looking for the shiny object, the fancy technology or solution or drug to stop all of this. And the answer has always been there. It's algae. It was the first life on Earth. In fact, our tagline is, on all of our packaging, add more life to yours, one bit at a time. It's been there all the time. We just didn't know what it was or why it worked. And so I've spent almost 14 years digging through the science, trying to understand why our algae works so well. And it's a gift to us from Mother Nature. It has everything in it that we need to live on and to protect our health and to re-engage. And because it comes in tablets, it's not a drug. It's not a supplement. You could chew them. I chew mine.
And I think the other thing is in the preparation process, it's air dried and packed into the tablet. It's not like you're even damaging them from a heating perspective or a chemical perspective to create it. So it's really natural.
Well, that's why we're quite unique. One of the antioxidants that can get into that inner membrane is called superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD, but it's an enzyme. And what SOD does is it stops the most powerful damaging free radical is called superoxide. So superoxide dismutase stops that particular free radical and turns it into water. So you think of it as a fireman. It's putting out the fire of the free radicals and turning it into water, harmless water. But superoxide dismutase is an enzyme. And we have never used high heat to dry our algae, because when I started the company, it was because of my sister having breast cancer. So everything we've done is always to nurture and care for people. And all the other algae companies, and you can go on Amazon, you can go to Whole Foods or Costco, and you can see spirulina and chlorella. They're sold everywhere. Nobody really understands what they do. But the problem is those are low-priced, high-volume suppliers. And so they use high heat to dry the algae so they can get it to market quickly. But by doing that, they kill the enzyme called superoxide dismutase. And so it's like shooting blanks. You're not getting the benefits of stopping the free radical damage because it's dead. And our superoxide dismutase is alive and well. And it's very, very important that you understand that the superoxide dismutase, as well as the other two, melatonin and glutathione, you have them created in your body from the moment you're born until about the age of 30. So
I think that's the center of anti-aging medicine and cellular medicine, is understanding how important the mitochondria are, and whatever you could do to make them clean up after all of these damaging free radicals are being created, and anything that you could do to make them operate at their maximum before that cell dies. So there are things that you offer in terms of the chlorella and spirulina that are going to let those mitochondria clean out the cell so that it survives longer. And when it's time for it to go through apoptosis to actually disappear, that it does it cleanly and not perpetuate further inflammation. So it's they have wonderful properties. It's simple, and the fact that you don't heat it and damage the good parts of the algae that you're ingesting is really the key here.
Well, because if you heat, this is also why processed foods are so damaging. Anytime you use heat, you scramble the nutritional value, so the heat decreases the value of the other nutrients, the other 45, but it definitely completely wipes out the enzymes. And enzymes are critical for all functioning in your body, not just digestion. Some people know about digestive enzymes, but enzymes are used as part of all processes. So the fact that ours are alive and well is very, very important. And the mitochondria, it's so funny to me, maybe it's not so funny, that algae was the very first life on Earth 4 billion years ago. And when you are talking about maintaining or correcting or protecting your health, particularly heart health, you can't get any deeper than the mitochondria. That's where the rubber hits the road. Everything is about the mitochondria. And everything with algae, like, you can't go any further back in evolution to find
That's correct. And that coronary artery disease that is a culprit for causing the most deaths in the United States and in the world for that matter, it's a mitochondrial insufficient issue. Anything you could do to maximize how your mitochondria operate how your cells are able to actually take care of any toxic elements that are coming in that are causing damage to the coronary artery, and then you're shooting cholesterol to the area to try to bandage off the problem that's occurring there. So before people have coronary disease, it's very important, but after they have coronary disease, it's even more important, simply because when people have heart attacks, you're actually damaging cells and you're removing the amount of mitochondria that are present, and the scarring that takes place could be very bad, or it could be mitigated significantly just by supporting the mitochondria. And that's where spirulina can be pretty impressive, even after a heart attack, in what it's capable of doing to your mitochondria.
And, you know, some recent research has found that very often when you have cataracts, apparently your retina is also a very high concentration of mitochondria. So when you have cataracts, it's indicating that there's a mitochondrial dysfunction, and it's a precursor and an early warning signal to potential heart disease, because if the retina's mitochondria are diseased, so is the mitochondria in your heart.
That is correct. So yeah, the cataracts basically are an abnormal folding of protein in the lens, a sign of inflammation. And part of my history in physical is always asking people if they have cataracts, macular degeneration, or glaucoma. Cataracts basically being a sign of inflammation. But when your small vessels in your retina are being involved and you're having macular degeneration or you're having elevated pressures, those are all microvascular disease signs, and definitely can reflect back that you're at risk for a cardiac event. Cataracts, I believe it's 11% of people who have cataracts removed eventually develop a heart attack within the next few years. So that's not a tremendous number, but macular degeneration and glaucoma is much higher. The risk for developing cardiovascular disease is much higher. So the ophthalmologist should be looking at this.
Well, I know. And I had a personal experience. A fellow I grew up with, went through high school, university with. He was a judge, wonderful father, a great athlete. And about a year ago, he had some eye issues, some macular degeneration. And, you know, and I don't know what actually he did for the eyes, but 6 months later, he was out cross-country skiing, had a heart attack, and died. It was like we were devastated, absolutely devastated. So anybody who's
one little note to the audience, right? So one of the biggest therapies for macular degeneration is to give these products that reduce how many new blood vessels you're forming in your eye. And the thinking is that when you give this injection, which has been named Lucentis or Avastin, those are the two big ones that are getting used all over the world. You're not only blocking new cell production in the eye, there is a systemic effect. So there is an increased risk for developing heart attacks for the treatment of macular degeneration that's currently being used. So
but it's so typical of most of the pharmaceutical solutions. They don't correct the problem. They do an intervention, so you're less bothered by it, but it's not solving the problem. That's
right. It's symptom oriented, not root cause oriented. And
not
really
the root
cause for almost everything is mitochondrial issues. And that's why I think this is a great thing that people need to be on for their overall health. So that's fantastic.
You should be taking this every day for the rest of your life. And here's the good thing: when you take, especially if you take both of them, spirulina in the morning, and we do have a 20% discount code when you come to energybits.com. If you put in WPR Medical, all one word, WPR Medical, put it into the discount code box, and you'll get 20% off. We have, large bags, we have canisters. Remember, this will last, if you took 10 a day, it's 3 months of vegetables. But if you take these every day, you'll be buying fewer groceries. You'll be throwing out fewer groceries. Certainly, you can try, if you're traveling, you never have to worry about eating crappy carbs that will, give you an insulin spike. And as you get an insulin spike, you get more inflammation, and inflammation is not good for your mitochondria. So I call it your nutritional insurance. Is when you take spirulina and chlorella, the two of them. Again, spirulina we generally recommend in the morning and afternoon or before a workout, anytime you're tired or hungry, and the chlorella definitely before bed or after a workout. It pulls out all toxins, all heavy metals, also alcohol, pulls that out. You'll be sober in an hour and a half. Honestly, it works every time.
Catherine, which one out of the two substances actually helps to raise your omega-3 fatty acid levels and potentially lower your cholesterol? It's both spirulina.
Yeah. If you were only to buy one, this for heart health, this would be it. And also, this is the most important one for brain health, particularly because of the high concentration of that enzyme superoxide dismutase. Now, chlorella has it's second highest in the world, but you're going to get the maximum from spirulina. And also because it's a bacteria, it will get absorbed instantly into your system. There is zero fiber in spirulina because it's a bacteria, no cellulose wall. So if you have any digestive issues, and as you get older, people tend to have fewer digestive enzymes, this is your answer. No digestive distress at all. This is why marathon runners and triathletes love it, because it gets them the focus and the energy with no stomach distress. It's so safe and pure and easy on your stomach. They give it to newborns in Japan. If they can't digest mother's breast milk, they put this in water. It's the only thing that keeps them alive. And so if a newborn, a preemie, can digest spirulina, trust me, it's okay for you too. And we all know that as you get older, people are spending less time preparing meals, not eating well. And because all you have to do is swallow these, it's effortless. And one tablet has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. I just had a plate of vegetables. Just what I'm talking to, right there. No work, no effort, no cleanup, nothing. You know what? I think I'm going to have another one. It was so good. I like to chew mine. The chlorella tastes pretty good with pistachio nuts or macadamia nuts. Most people do swallow the spirulina, but it's completely chewable. It's got an earthy, kind of salty flavor, sort of like a soy nut, but no heat, no processing whatsoever. One ingredient. Remember, everyone's telling you only eat foods that have fewest number of ingredients. You can't get any less than one. This is like eating broccoli or kale or any other vegetable, except it's got 1,000 times more nutrition, and it will heal your mitochondria, because those three antioxidants, melatonin, glutathione, superoxide dismutase, aren't found in medicinal quantities in any other food, not even drugs. By the way, drugs can't get into the mitochondria either, because they can't get through that inner membrane. So glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase, they like have a VIP pass. They get into the mitochondria. Nobody else other than chlorophyll, nobody else can. So they get in there, they clean out the mitochondria, they protect your DNA, they protect your telomeres, they reduce inflammation, and you didn't have to do anything.
They do one other thing that's really interesting, actually. The phycocyanin that's found in the spirulina actually can increase your erythropoietin levels. So you literally are going to be stimulating the hormone that increases your red blood cell volume. So for people who have these chronic mild anemias, you should be taking spirulina on a regular basis.
And anyways, it's unbelievable for anemia. Also, phycocyanin, again, that blue pigment that's in here, this is the color of it. It's been proven to stop the growth of blood vessels to tumors. It's called anti-angiogenesis. When you have a cancer or a tumor, it basically hijacks your blood vessels and reroutes them to feed the cancer. And phycocyanin intercepts that. So, I mean, you may take it because you want heart health, but you'll end up improving your brain health. You may take it because you want an easy way to get your greens and your protein, but
for my cardiac patients, the biggest reason is if they've had a cardiac event, you could actually make the scarring process much smaller, and the recovery is going to be much better when you're feeding the mitochondria while they're going through this stunned and recovery phase. So every cardiac patient needs to be on energy bits.
Yes. Yeah. And in fact, we just on anecdotal basis, we had professional baseball players after arm surgery healed in half the time. People had LASIK surgery healed in half the time. It works. And it's just food. We call them bits because we call them bits of food.
I would call it superfood.
I call it a super duper food.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
If you want, we're going to do one thing for heart health. And February is Heart Health Month. If you were to do one thing, give yourself the gift of spirulina. And if you want to up level it, take the chlorella as well, because it does different things. This one pulls out toxins which are just as damaging as having the wrong cholesterol and too much.
No, from a cardiovascular perspective, that is a major cause for what causes coronary artery inflammation that leads to you forming that plaque. That's number 3 on the list of things that we check when we're dealing with our cardiac patients from the functional realm. So absolutely, chlorella absolutely has to be part of the regimen. So.
Yeah, and they're the most alkaline food in the world. And that's what got me on this process, because again, my sister's oncologist told her to change her diet to an alkaline diet. And you say, well, what's so important about an alkaline diet? Well, your cells, there's a scale of 0 to 14 of acidic to alkaline, and your cells need to be at 7.1, which is just slightly alkaline. And when they're at 7.1, that's indicative of oxygen being present, of the correct nutrients being present, so everything's functioning properly. But when you are stressed and you're eating acidic foods like processed foods and sugar, and actually a lot of meat is also acidic, unfortunately, but if you eat too much acidic food or exercise too much, you change the pH. And when your cells are too acidic, then you have less oxygen in there. So the mitochondria are struggling to perform properly. So your energy level goes down, you get more damage, and it's an invitation to cancer or any other heart disease. So the fact that these are also the most alkaline, by the way, your blood needs to be even more alkaline. It needs to be 7.34. which is even more alkaline. And if you aren't eating a good diet, just adding this alone will bring your blood pH and your cell pH back to a healthier, slightly alkaline. Because if your blood is too acidic, then your hemoglobin, which remember I showed you that picture, they have an iron atom in the middle, your hemoglobin, and your body, they have a negative charge around them, so they don't clump. Just like if you've ever held 2 magnets up to one another, you know how they repel. So your hemoglobin has that negative charge, but when your blood's too acidic, they clump. And this can cause a heart attack. This can cause less oxygen to be carried to your heart because they can't manage its way through the arteries.
And now even more, that mechanism is manifesting in people who are having reactions to these mandated vaccines where they're actually causing clumping, clotting, and that leads to cardiovascular events and brain events. And by all means, anything that we can do, instead of popping people on blood thinners when they get too thick, we can actually be teaching them how to recharge those particles so that they're not sticking together and causing these rouleau formations that everybody's talking about that's leading to the clots eventually.
And when we were in the thick of the COVID, they were finding that when they were doing the autopsies, blood clots everywhere. And it's because the virus is acidic and it strips off that negative charge and causes the blood to clump. So it's causing an inability to be carried properly. And this is why it was causing so many heart attacks, because when it's clumping, it kicked out the iron atom, which normally carries the oxygen. So you had clumped hemoglobin with no oxygen in it. So your heart was the first organ that suffered, and people were dying from heart attacks.
It makes those cells stickier, and it just attracts other sticky cells, and it just grows into a bigger problem.
Right.
So absolutely, that's a big mechanism for disease.
So this builds your blood because of the high chlorophyll. I showed you how chlorophyll and your hemoglobin are almost identical. So it builds your blood. B, it keeps your blood healthy so they're not clumping, and you don't need a blood thinner because this is a nutritional way to make sure your blood is flowing correctly and carrying oxygen correctly to protect your heart, which needs the oxygen to pump properly. And then it's still building your mitochondria in your heart and in your veins and in all the vasculature. So I mean, it doesn't matter how you look at it. Algae, spirulina, and chlorella are a godsend. They're your superhero, superfood for superhero heart protection. And if you, as I said, did nothing else but started taking this, I promise everything else in your life will improve too. But who wants to, you don't want to just live long, you want to live well. And when you have a heart event, then you're walking on eggshells for the rest of your life, right?
Listen, without a doubt, it should be a staple to take something that detoxifies the way chlorella does and supports mitochondria the way spirulina does. This is not even cardiac only. We're focusing on the cardiac because it's such a common problem, but we're talking about all disease processes can be impacted by what these agents do.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
In fact, we're doing our first clinical trial started this week with an organization in Florida called Gray Team, and they tried to prevent suicides of veterans, because the suicide rate for military veterans is 35%. And all they're doing is taking 30 of our spirulina tablets every day. They're not changing anything else. They took brain scans before they started, and they're going to take brain scans after. And I know for sure we're going to see a reduction in inflammation, because there's a book that just came out that I just finished reading, Brain Energy by Dr. Chris Palmer. He's a psychiatrist at the Harvard Medical School, and his entire book is about all brain issues: anxiety, depression, Alzheimer's, post-traumatic stress disorder, are all mitochondria issues. It's all about the mitochondria, same with the heart. And so when we have the spirulina, between the phycocyanin, the essential fatty acids, and the high superoxide dismutase, I know we're going to reduce inflammation in the brain, and that will help remove anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder. We've had customers email us who had terrible Alzheimer's, and after 2 days, they were, before they took the algae, they wrote us and said they couldn't even figure out how to work the microwave, and they couldn't remember their address. And after 2 days, they were back on track. So
wonderful. I'm definitely looking forward to those study results when they come out. By all means,
yes, me too.
Yeah.
And we have a really terrific scientist. His name is Dr. Dominique D'Agostino, very involved with the keto community. He works with at the University of Tampa in the medical school. He's a professor there, but also works with the Defense Department. And he's going to write up the paper for us. So it may not be till April-ish, April, May, but and once we get the results, we're going to do a bigger one after that. And then after that, I want to do one for heart.
Oh, I'm ready to go. And my
Okay.
patients are too. So
yeah. We supply you the product and just do some tests before and after. I just feel so grateful that I have the opportunity to show people how easy and natural it can be to regain and protect your health, particularly heart health, with something that was given to us from the moment Earth began, but no one's ever explained it to you. So it's not woo-woo. There's 100,000 studies documenting the efficacy of spirulina and chlorella, 100,000. So it's not 1 or 10 or 100 or even 1,000. You can't argue with 100,000 studies. I mean, it just
and honestly, I think you could probably go through all of them. You really have a wonderful fund of knowledge on this, and that's why I needed to have you on to talk about this in more detail. And by all means, you gave me a weapon that I could use for a very common problem. And like we discussed, the mitochondria is really the source of every possible way to recover from an illness. And anything we can do to keep our mitochondria pumping along is going to be a big leap ahead in healthcare. So I really appreciate that you came on today.
Thank you so much.
We love your stuff, and also we can you just repeat the discount code, because that would be great for anybody who wants to.
So come to energybits.com, ENERGYBITS. And we write a blog. In fact, we just finished posting our heart health blog. So check that out as well. And the 20% discount code is WPR Medical.
Great.
WPR Medical, all one word, lowercase, uppercase, it doesn't matter. Just put that in the discount code box. If we do have these really cool, I just want to show you canisters. You can, if you buy a canister, you only need one canister once, because it has a little opening where it comes with a bag in it, and then you just shake out the tablets
Like
afterwards.
a Pez dispenser.
Exactly. I can't believe you said that, because that was sort of, I designed everything, and that was my original idea. So, and then when you run out, you just buy a bag and put it back in the canister, and then you put these on your countertops. And just in case for any women that are watching, I found that women didn't like the blue packaging, and because I started the company because of my sister, and because it has more collagen than collagen powder, spirulina does, I created a second brand of spirulina. So we have a boy spirulina and a girl spirulina. This is the one that's on my countertop. Women love the packaging. So ladies, by the way, ladies, mitochondria, all the mitochondria DNA come from the women.
That's right.
And remember, the mitochondria DNA controls everything in your body. So ladies, we got the power, right?
Here's to you. Here's to you. That's great.
So get a canister, refill it with your bags. Boy spirulina, girl spirulina. It doesn't matter. Honestly, it's and we do have them also in boxes with little pouches with 30 tablets in them. So when you're traveling or going to the gym or you're stuck in traffic, this is your go-to. It will stop hunger, cravings, and it's always working at the cellular level to.
And you can't really overdose at all. I mean, you're basically giving pure nutrition to your body. So
yes.
It's fantastic. So
yeah.
Thank you so much, Catherine. We had a great time today.
Thank you so much.
And I'd love to get you back, especially when the study comes out that you're doing in Florida. I would love to go over that with you again.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.